The numbers on the computer screen made no sense. Dr. Iris Caldwell rubbed her tired eyes and looked at the data again. For 3 nights in a row, her equipment had been picking up strange signals. The radiation patterns were unlike anything she had seen in 15 years of studying quantum physics. Her laboratory sat deep underground, beneath the University of Nevada campus. Most people had gone home hours ago. Iris preferred working late when the building was quiet and she could think clearly. Tonight felt different, though. The air seemed heavy, almost electric. She stood up from her desk and stretched. Her back hurt from sitting too long. As she walked toward the small kitchen area to make another cup of coffee, she heard something. A scraping sound like metal being dragged across concrete. It came from the storage room at the far end of the lab. Iris froze. Nobody else should be down here. The security doors required special access cards. She thought about calling campus security, but what would she tell them? That she heard a noise? They would think she was being paranoid. She picked up a heavy flashlight from her desk. It was not much of a weapon, but it made her feel slightly better. Walking slowly toward the storage room, she listened carefully. The scraping sound had stopped. Now she heard something else. Breathing. Deep, labored breathing that sounded wrong somehow. The storage room door was slightly open. Iris always kept it locked. Her hand shook as she pushed the door wider. The flashlight beam cut through the darkness, moving across boxes of equipment and old computer parts. Then the light hit something that made her breath catch in her throat. Wedged between 2 large equipment crates was a creature. It was enormous, easily the size of a small bus. The body was covered in scales that shimmered between deep blue and midnight black. Silver patterns ran along its sides, glowing faintly in the darkness. Wings, torn and bleeding, were folded awkwardly against its body. The blood was not red. It glowed with a soft purple light that pooled on the floor. Iris wanted to run. Every instinct screamed at her to get out of the building and call for help. But her scientist mind took over. This was impossible. This creature should not exist. Yet here it was, bleeding on her laboratory floor. She took a step closer. The creature's chest rose and fell with difficult breaths. It was badly hurt. How had it gotten here? How had it gotten into her locked storage room without triggering any alarms? The creature's eye opened. Just one eye, golden and swirling with colors that seemed to shift and move. It looked directly at Iris. Everything stopped. The fluorescent lights overhead froze mid-flicker. The hum of machinery went silent. A coffee cup Iris had knocked off a nearby shelf hung in the air, liquid suspended in droplets that caught the light like tiny crystals. Dust particles floated motionless, creating strange patterns in the beam of her flashlight. Iris could move. She turned her head slowly, trying to understand what was happening. The world had become a photograph. Everything was perfectly still except for her and the creature. No, not just her and the creature. She could feel something else, a presence in her mind, gentle but strange. Images began to flow into her thoughts. Not words, but pictures and feelings that communicated meaning directly. The creature was showing her things. She saw stars, countless stars rushing past. She saw a ship, beautiful and organic-looking, being attacked by angular vessels that seemed to hurt her eyes to look at. She saw the ship falling, burning, breaking apart as it entered Earth's atmosphere. More images came. The creature showed her its name, though it was not really a name in any human sense. It was more like a concept, a role. The closest translation Iris could find in her own mind was witness keeper. This being witness time itself, saw it in ways humans could not understand. The presence in her mind retreated slightly, giving her space to think. Iris looked at the frozen world around her. She looked back at the witness keeper. Questions flooded her mind, but one thought rose above all others. What did you do to time? Again, images flowed into her mind. Time had not stopped, not exactly. She and the witness keeper were moving through it differently now. To the outside world, only the tiniest fraction of a second had passed. But here in this bubble of altered time, they could exist and think and communicate. How? Iris thought the question, and somehow knew the witness keeper would understand. The answer came in feelings more than images. The ability was triggered by connection, by a moment of true seeing between the witness keeper and a mind capable of understanding. Iris's years of studying quantum mechanics, of thinking about time and space in ways most humans never did, had made her mind compatible. The eye contact had created a bond. Iris looked at the creature's wounds. The purple blood still glowed, still dripped, but in extreme slow motion. If time started again, the witness keeper would continue bleeding. It might die. She made a decision. Setting down her flashlight, she moved closer to the injured creature. Fear still pulsed through her, but curiosity and compassion were stronger. This being had traveled across stars and crashed on Earth. It was alone, hurt, and had somehow reached out to her for help. I don't know how to fix this, Iris thought toward the witness keeper. But I'll try. The golden eye blinked slowly, gratefully. More images came, showing her where the worst injuries were, what might help. The creature's biology was completely alien, but it was trying to teach her. Iris looked around at the frozen laboratory. Somewhere out there, security cameras had recorded the moment before time stopped. When time started again, people would have questions. Her life was about to become very complicated, but right now, in this moment, outside of moments, she had work to do. She had a dragon to save. Iris ran her hand along the witness keeper's scaled side, trying to understand the creature's anatomy. The scales felt warm despite the frozen air around them. In this bubble of stopped time, temperature seemed locked in place. The coffee that had spilled from the suspended cup should have cooled by now, but it remained hot. The largest wound was on the creature's left wing. The membrane had been torn badly, and the glowing purple blood seeped through damaged tissue. Iris had no veterinary training, but she had taken enough biology courses to understand basic principles. Stop the bleeding first. Clean the wound. Hope for the best. She gathered supplies from around the laboratory. A first aid kit meant for humans seemed laughably inadequate, but it was a start. She also grabbed bandages from the chemistry supply closet and some equipment she normally used for handling radioactive samples. Working in the frozen time was strange. Sound behaved oddly. When Iris spoke, her voice seemed muffled and flat. When she dropped something, it made almost no noise at all. The silence was heavy and uncomfortable. As she cleaned the wing wound with antiseptic, the witness keeper sent her more images. She saw flashes of its world, a place where beings lived who experienced time in all directions at once. They could see the past and future as clearly as humans saw the present. Their cities were beautiful, built with architecture that seemed to exist in multiple moments simultaneously. Then she saw the destroyers, ships that came from somewhere beyond, hunting these time-sensitive beings. The attackers called themselves the Collective. They captured witness keepers and others like them, using their bodies to build terrible weapons, devices that could age a person to dust in seconds, machines that froze entire armies in time forever. The witness keeper had been fleeing from them. It had come to Earth hoping to hide, to heal, to perhaps warn the humans about what was coming. The Collective was expanding, claiming more territory, destroying more civilizations. Earth was in their path. How long do we have? Iris asked aloud, her voice strange in the silent air. The response came as a feeling of uncertainty. Time was difficult to measure when you could see all of it at once. Days, perhaps? Maybe a week. Iris felt cold fear settle in her stomach. She was a scientist, not a soldier. What could she do against an alien army? What could anyone do? She pushed the fear aside and focused on bandaging the wing. The purple blood reacted strangely to the materials she used. It seemed to respond to electromagnetic fields. When she brought a small magnet near it, the blood moved, flowing away from the magnetic source. That was useful information. She could potentially use magnetic fields to help clot the wounds. Hours passed, or what felt like hours. Time was hard to judge in this frozen bubble. Iris worked carefully, treating each wound as best she could. The witness keeper remained patient, sending her grateful feelings through their mental connection. I need to understand something, Iris said as she worked. You said we're not really stopping time. We're moving through it differently. What does that mean? Images flooded her mind again. She saw time not as a river flowing in one direction, but as an ocean with currents moving in many ways at once. Most creatures could only move with the main current, experiencing one moment after another. But the witness keeper and those it bonded with could slip between currents, moving faster or slower than the normal flow. Right now, they were moving so much faster than normal time that the outside world appeared frozen. To someone watching from outside, only a fraction of a second had passed since the witness keeper opened its eye. But for Iris and the creature, hours had gone by in that tiny sliver of time. So we could stay here forever? Iris asked. The feeling that came back was negative, tinged with warning. The faster they moved through time, the more energy it took. Eventually, they would become tired. More importantly, if they stayed too long in this accelerated state, They might become unstuck from normal time completely. They could end up trapped, unable to return to the regular flow of the world. How long is safe? Iris asked. The witness keeper was not sure. It had never bonded with a human before. Every species was different. Iris might be able to stay in stopped time for hours or days, or she might only have minutes before the strain became dangerous. She finished wrapping the last visible wound and stepped back. The witness keeper looked slightly better. The purple glow of its blood had dimmed, suggesting the worst bleeding had stopped, but the creature was still weak. Its scales had lost some of their shimmer, and its breathing remained labored. "You need rest," Iris said, "and I need to figure out how to hide you once time starts again." She looked around the laboratory. The storage room was decent cover for now, but not good enough. The building had security cameras everywhere. Maintenance workers would come through. Students would arrive in the morning. Then she remembered the radiation containment chamber. It was a sealed room built to contain dangerous materials during experiments. Thick concrete walls, lead lining its own air filtration system. Most importantly, no cameras inside. She had insisted on that for safety reasons, to protect experiments from electromagnetic interference. "Can you move?" she asked the witness keeper. A feeling of uncertainty came back. The creature was large and injured. Moving would be difficult and painful. "We have to try," Iris said gently. "Before we let time start again, I need to get you somewhere safer." Slowly, with great effort, the witness keeper began to shift its weight. Iris helped as much as she could, though her strength was nothing compared to the creature's mass. Inch by inch, they moved through the frozen laboratory toward the containment chamber. As they moved, Iris felt something changing inside her. The connection to the witness keeper was growing stronger. She began to sense time the way it did, feeling the currents and flows. For brief moments, she could see shadows of possible futures branching out ahead of them. In some futures, she saw the collective arriving and destroying everything. In others, she saw herself and the witness keeper fighting together. In a few, she saw something beautiful, a friendship between two species that changed both forever. She did not know which future would come true, but she knew one thing with certainty. When she and the witness keeper finally released their hold on time and let the world move again, nothing would ever be the same. Iris sat with her back against the cold wall of the containment chamber, watching the witness keeper's chest rise and fall. They had made it. The creature was safely hidden inside the sealed room, and now came the hard part. They needed to let time start flowing normally again. "I don't know how to do this," Iris admitted quietly. The witness keeper sent her feelings of reassurance along with simple instructions. They had started this together by making eye contact. To end it, they needed to both want the same thing at the same moment. They needed to agree to return to normal time and then break their visual connection. Iris stood up and looked into the creature's golden eyes. She thought about normal time, about the world moving at its regular speed. She felt the witness keeper thinking the same thoughts through their bond. Then together they closed their eyes. Sound rushed back like a thunderclap. The hum of machinery returned. Somewhere down the hall a clock started ticking again. Iris gasped and stumbled, feeling suddenly exhausted. Moving through time that way had drained her more than she realized. She checked her watch. Only half a second had passed in the outside world. To anyone watching the security cameras, it would look like she had simply walked very quickly from the storage room to the containment chamber. Impossible to see clearly, but not obviously supernatural. The witness keeper made a soft sound, something between a groan and a sigh. It was tired too. Iris wanted to stay and make sure it was comfortable, but she needed to act normal. People would arrive soon. She had to be at her desk working as if nothing strange had happened. "Rest," she told the creature. "I'll come back when it's safe." She sealed the containment chamber and hurried to her desk. Her hands were shaking as she pulled up random data files on her computer. What had she done? She had hidden an alien creature in a university laboratory. If anyone found out, she would lose her job. Probably get arrested. The government would take the witness keeper away, cut it apart to study it. No, she would not let that happen. 2 hours later, her graduate student arrived. Henry Wu was a brilliant young man with messy hair and a talent for computer programming. He usually came in early to check the equipment before classes started. "Good morning, Dr. Caldwell," he said cheerfully, then stopped. "Are you okay?" He looked terrible. "Just tired," Iris lied. Been here all night working on the quantum field equations. Henry frowned at his computer screen. That's weird. The sensors are showing some really strange readings from last night. Huge energy spike around 3 in the morning. Then everything went back to normal. He looked at her with concern. You didn't have an equipment malfunction, did you? Nothing dangerous, Iris said quickly. Just some interference from the new generators we installed last week. I'm still calibrating them. It was a decent lie. Henry accepted it and went back to his work. Iris tried to focus on her computer, but her mind kept drifting back to the containment chamber. Was the witness keeper okay? Were its wounds healing? How long before the collective tracked it here? Around noon, everything got worse. 3 men in dark suits arrived at the laboratory. They showed badges that identified them as federal agents from a department Iris had never heard of. They had questions about unusual atmospheric readings detected 2 nights ago. Something entered Earth's atmosphere over Nevada, the lead agent said. He was tall with gray hair and cold eyes. Burned up mostly, but we're checking all research facilities in the area. Have you noticed anything unusual? Iris forced herself to stay calm. Nothing unusual. Just our normal experiments. Quantum field research, some particle studies. We'd like to inspect your laboratory, the agent said. It was not a request. Iris's heart pounded. If they found the witness keeper, everything would be over. But she could not refuse without making them suspicious. She nodded and stood up. Of course, though I should warn you. Some of our equipment is sensitive to electromagnetic interference. You'll need to leave your phones and any electronics in the front office. The agents agreed. It bought her a few extra seconds to think. As she led them through the laboratory, explaining various pieces of equipment, her mind raced. The containment chamber was designed to block radiation. It should also block most scans. But what if they had something more advanced? They walked slowly through each room. Iris kept talking, boring them with technical details about quantum mechanics and particle acceleration. The agent's eyes glazed over as she droned on about field equations and probability waves. When they reached the containment chamber, Iris held her breath. The lead agent looked at the sealed door. What's in there? Radioactive materials, Iris said. We use them for certain experiments. The room is sealed and shielded. Opening it requires following specific safety protocols. The agent studied her face. Iris met his eyes steadily, praying he would not see through her lie. After a long moment, he nodded. We'll take your word for it. If you do notice anything unusual, contact us immediately. He handed her a card with a phone number. As soon as the agents left, Iris's legs went weak. She sat down hard in her chair. That had been too close. She needed help. She could not protect the witness keeper alone, but who could she trust? Who would believe her story and not think she had lost her mind? Her old mentor. Dr. Rebecca Frost had taught Iris most of what she knew about physics. Rebecca now worked at a government laboratory across the state. She was brilliant, open-minded, and had security clearance. If anyone could help, it was her. Iris picked up her phone and dialed. Rebecca answered on the second ring. Iris, it's been months. How are you? Rebecca, I need your help with something. Something impossible. There was a pause. What kind of impossible? Iris took a deep breath. The kind that changes everything we know about the universe. Can you come to my lab tonight? And don't tell anyone where you're going. Another pause, longer this time. Then Rebecca said, I'll be there at 8 o'clock. After hanging up, Iris went to the containment chamber. She opened the door quietly and slipped inside. The witness keeper was awake, its golden eyes watching her. I'm bringing someone here tonight, Iris said. Someone I trust. We're going to need more help if we're going to survive what's coming. The creature sent feelings of agreement and gratitude. Through their bond, Iris felt its growing strength. The wounds were healing faster than expected. Maybe, just maybe, they had a chance. She looked into those golden eyes, and for just a moment, time seemed to slow around them. Not stopping, but softening, bending. Iris was changing. The bond with the witness keeper was making her into something more than human. She was becoming a guardian of time itself. Rebecca arrived exactly at 8 o'clock, carrying a briefcase and wearing her usual professional suit. She looked the same as Iris remembered. Sharp eyes behind wire-frame glasses, dark hair pulled back in a tight bun, the confident walk of someone who had spent 30 years proving herself in male-dominated research fields. This better be good, Rebecca said, walking into the laboratory. I told my supervisor I was visiting a sick relative. If anyone finds out I lied, it could cost me my clearance. It's good, Iris promised. Or bad. Depends on how you look at it. She led Rebecca to the containment chamber. Before opening the door, Iris turned to her mentor. What I'm about to show you will sound insane. You're probably going to think I've had a mental breakdown, but I need you to look first and judge later. Can you do that? Rebecca studied her former student's face. You're serious. Completely serious. Then show me. Iris opened the door. The witness keeper lay in the center of the room, its scales gleaming in the fluorescent light. It had grown stronger since the morning. The purple glow of its blood had faded, and its breathing was steadier. When Rebecca walked in, the creature lifted its massive head and looked at her. Rebecca stopped breathing. Her briefcase fell from her hand and hit the floor with a loud bang. She stared at the witness keeper with her mouth open, all her scientific training temporarily forgotten. That's a dragon, Rebecca whispered. You have a dragon in your laboratory. Not exactly a dragon, Iris said. It's called a witness keeper. It's from another world and it crashed here 3 days ago. And that's not even the strangest part. She explained everything quickly. The time-stopping ability, the mental bond, the collective hunting these creatures across the galaxy, the weapons they built from harvested bodies, the fact that Earth had maybe 2 days before the hunters arrived. Rebecca listened in silence, her scientific mind processing the impossible information. When Iris finished, Rebecca walked closer to the witness keeper. May I? She asked, reaching out slowly. The creature sent feelings of permission. Rebecca placed her hand on the scales and gasped. Even without the full mental bond, she could sense something. The age of the being before her, the weight of time it carried. We need to tell the government, Rebecca said. The military. Someone who can mount a proper defense. And what will they do? Iris asked. Probably try to dissect it to learn how the time abilities work. Or use it as a weapon. The witness keeper came here for help, not to become a prisoner. Then what do you suggest? Before Iris could answer, the witness keeper sent a surge of alarm through her mind. Danger. Something was coming. She closed her eyes and saw what the creature saw. A small probe entering Earth's atmosphere, searching with strange sensors that tasted time itself. They're here, Iris said. The collective sent a scout. Rebecca's face went pale. Already? You said we had 2 days. I was wrong. Or they're faster than the witness keeper thought. Iris looked at her mentor. We need to decide right now. Are you with me? Because if we're going to fight this, we need to start immediately. Rebecca was quiet for 3 heartbeats. Then she picked up her briefcase and opened it. Inside were her laptop and several encrypted drives containing research data. I have access to 3 other quantum physicists working on classified projects, Rebecca said. Good people who can keep their mouths shut. If we network our facilities together, combine our equipment, we might be able to create some kind of defense field. It's a long shot, but it's better than nothing. Will they help without asking too many questions? For the end of the world? Yes, Rebecca pulled out her phone. But I need to show them. They need to see what we're facing. Iris looked at the witness keeper. Can you do the time stop thing with more people? The creature sent back uncertainty. It had never tried with more than 1 person. But perhaps if they were all in contact with Iris, the bond could extend. Worth trying, Rebecca said. When's your student coming back? Henry will be here early tomorrow morning. He already knows something's wrong. I think we should tell him. They spent the next 2 hours making plans. Rebecca contacted her colleagues using coded language, setting up a meeting at Iris's lab for the next evening. Meanwhile, Iris worked with the witness keeper, practicing the time stop ability. She was getting better at it. She could now slow time for brief moments without fully stopping it, which was less draining. Around midnight, Iris tried something new. She looked into the witness keeper's eyes and, instead of stopping time, tried to see forward. The creature understood and helped, pushing her consciousness along the time currents into possible futures. She saw flashes of what might come. In one future, 3 massive ships appeared over Nevada and destroyed everything with weapons that aged buildings to dust. In another, she saw herself and others fighting back with strange technology that bent time around them. In a third, she saw the witness keeper dead and humans weeping over its body. But in one future, barely visible and so fragile it might disappear with a single wrong choice, she saw something beautiful. Humans and witness keepers working together. Ships traveling between stars. Friendship spanning galaxies. That one, Iris whispered. We have to make that one real. The vision faded and she stumbled backward, exhausted. Seeing the future took more energy than stopping the present. Rebecca caught her before she fell. Easy, you're pushing yourself too hard. Not hard enough, Iris said. Rebecca, you need to see what I just saw. All of you need to understand what we're fighting for. Tomorrow, Rebecca promised. When everyone's here, we'll all look together. Right now you need rest. But neither of them got much sleep that night. At 3 a.m, every piece of equipment in the laboratory started screaming alarms. Massive energy readings were coming from orbit. The collective scout had finished its search and was calling for the main fleet. Iris ran to the containment chamber. The witness keeper was standing now, fully alert despite its injuries. It sent her images of 3 ships breaking through Earth's atmosphere. Not the massive warships yet, but hunter vessels. Fast, deadly, designed to capture or kill individual witness keepers. How long? Iris asked. 6 hours. Maybe less. Rebecca appeared behind her, hair disheveled, eyes wide. My colleagues are coming as fast as they can. 2 are flying in, should arrive by noon. But that 3rd ship you're worried about? We'll be here first, Iris finished. We're out of time. The witness keeper sent feelings of determination mixed with sorrow. It could fight, but in its injured state it would lose. Unless they worked together, unless Iris was willing to risk everything. What do you need from me? Iris asked. The answer came in images. The creature needed her to be the anchor point for the time effect. Together, they could create a field that would slow the hunters down, give Earth's defenders a chance. But doing so would change Iris permanently. She would become something between human and witness keeper, able to perceive time in ways no human had before. There would be no going back. Iris looked at Rebecca, who understood immediately what was being offered. If you do this, Rebecca said quietly, you won't be the same person anymore. I know. Iris turned back to the witness keeper. But if I don't, how many people will die? She held out her hand to the creature. Its massive head lowered, and for the second time their eyes met. But this time, instead of just stopping time, they dove deeper into it together. Iris screamed as her consciousness expanded. She could suddenly see time spreading out in all directions like an ocean made of light. Past and future existed simultaneously. She saw herself being born and dying and everything in between. She saw Rebecca's whole life in an instant. She saw Henry arriving tomorrow and the collective ships burning through the sky and 1,000 other things all at once. Then, slowly, she learned to focus, to choose which time to see. The ability settled into her like a new sense she had always been meant to have. When she opened her eyes again, she was different. She knew it. Rebecca knew it. The witness keeper sent feelings of welcome. Iris was one of them now. A guardian of time. A bridge between species. Okay, Iris said, her voice steady despite everything that had changed. Let's teach these hunters what happens when they threaten Earth. Dawn arrived cold and gray over the Nevada desert. Iris stood on the roof of the physics building, watching the eastern sky. She did not need telescopes anymore. With her changed senses, she could feel the collective ships approaching like ripples in the fabric of time itself. Henry had arrived an hour ago. He had walked into the laboratory, taken one look at Iris's face and said, "Something really bad is happening, isn't it?" She had shown him the witness keeper. To his credit, he had not fainted or run away. Instead, he had pulled out his laptop and said, "Tell me what you need me to do." Now Henry was in the lab with the witness keeper, writing complex programs while the creature fed him information through a partial mental link. Rebecca's colleagues had arrived too. 3 scientists who had dropped everything and flown across the country on nothing more than Rebecca's urgent phone call. Dr. Ahmed. Hassan specialized in quantum field theory. Dr. Patricia. Webb knew more about electromagnetic manipulation than anyone alive. Dr. Robert Chen, Rebecca's oldest friend, had spent 20 years building devices that bent the laws of physics in uncomfortable ways. Together, they were humanity's desperate hope. Iris felt the moment when the collective ships entered scanning range. They were still in high orbit, but they had detected the witness keeper's energy signature. Now they were preparing to descend. She had maybe 3 hours before they arrived. She went back inside. The laboratory had been transformed overnight. Equipment from 4 different facilities had been brought in and connected in a network that would have been impossible to build a week ago.
Cables ran everywhere.
Computer screens showed equations that made Iris's head hurt even with her enhanced perception. Status? She asked Rebecca. Theoretically, this should work, Rebecca said, pointing to a diagram on her screen. We've linked the quantum field generators from all our labs into a single network. When activated, they'll create a localized time distortion field. Anyone inside the field will experience time normally, but to the collective ships will appear to be moving incredibly fast. It'll level the playing field, Robert added. Their weapons rely on time manipulation. Inside our field, those weapons won't work right. What's the catch? Iris asked. There was always a catch. Power, Patricia said bluntly. This network will drain every generator we have in about 12 minutes. After that, we're defenseless. 12 minutes to save the world, Henry muttered from his computer. No pressure. Iris walked to the containment chamber. The witness keeper was standing, its wounds mostly healed. The creature looked stronger than when she had first found it, but still tired. Fighting the collective hunters would take everything it had. Through their bond, she felt its determination. And something else. Affection. In the few days they had known each other, they had become friends. Family, even. The witness keeper would die protecting Earth because Iris lived here. Because this was her home. You better survive this, Iris told it. I didn't fix all those wounds just to watch you die fighting. The creature sent back feelings of humor and warmth. Then, more seriously, it shared something with her. A memory of another witness keeper who had been captured by the collective. Its sibling. The captured one was still alive, trapped on one of the approaching ships, forced to power their weapons. We'll get your sibling back, Iris promised. I don't know how yet, but we will. 2 hours later, the collective ships dropped into the lower atmosphere. Iris felt them coming like a weight pressing down on time itself. Through the windows, she could see 3 black shapes descending through the clouds. They were angular, sharp, and seemed to hurt the eyes to look at directly. Military jets scrambled from nearby bases, but Iris knew conventional weapons would not work. The collective shields could age missiles to rust before they hit. Bullets would slow to a stop in midair. The ships landed in the desert 5 miles from the university. The government had started evacuating nearby cities, but there was not enough time. Millions of people were still in danger. A voice came over every radio, television, and computer in the region. It spoke in flat, emotionless English. Surrender the witness keeper within 1 hour. If you comply, we will leave peacefully. If you resist, your species will be cleansed from this world. Iris looked at Rebecca and the others. No one spoke. They all knew there was no choice. Even if they wanted to surrender, the collective would probably kill them anyway. These hunters did not leave witnesses. Start the network, Iris said quietly. Rebecca hesitated. If we activate it now, we'll run out of power before they attack. We need to wait until the last possible moment. No, Iris said. We activate it now and we attack first. They're not expecting that. That's insane, Robert protested. We don't have any weapons. How are we supposed to attack 3 warships? Iris smiled, though there was no humor in it. We have the one thing they can't defend against. Me. She had been practicing with her new abilities all night. She could slip through time now like the witness keeper did. And more than that, she could bring others with her. Touch someone, and they could ride the time currents along with her. The witness keeper and I will board their ships while time is frozen. We'll free its sibling and sabotage their weapons. But I need you to keep the field running as long as possible. Every second counts. You'll die, Patricia said bluntly. Even if the boarding works, you'll be trapped on those ships when our field collapses. Maybe, Iris admitted. But maybe not. I can do things now I couldn't do yesterday. I'm getting stronger. We both are. Through the bond, she felt the witness keeper's agreement. They would go together into the heart of the enemy. Henry stood up from his computer. I'm going with you. No, Iris said immediately. Yes, Henry insisted. You need someone who can understand their computer systems. I've been studying the data the witness keeper shared. I think I can interface with their tech, but only if I'm there in person. Iris wanted to argue, but she knew he was right. She looked at Rebecca, who nodded sadly. Take care of my best student, Rebecca said. At exactly noon, Rebecca activated the quantum field network. The air shimmered as time bent around the laboratory. The collective ships would be noticing something was wrong right about now. Iris took Henry's hand. The witness keeper lowered its head and they all made eye contact. Reality froze. In the silence between seconds, Iris ran toward the ships with a young graduate student and an injured alien dragon. She ran through stop time, carrying hope for two species. She ran knowing she might never come back. But as she ran, she saw fragments of the future branching before her. In most of them, she died. In some, Earth burned. But in a few, in just a precious few, she saw victory. She saw the Witness Keeper's sibling freed. She saw the collective retreating. She saw a new alliance forming between humans and Time Guardians. Those futures were fragile. They could disappear with one wrong step. But they existed. They were possible. And Iris Caldwell had built her entire career on turning possibilities into realities. Time stretched out before her like an infinite road. She ran faster. The inside of the collective ship was worse than anything Iris had imagined. The walls were organic, pulsing with a sickly light. Cables made of something that might have once been alive ran along the ceiling. The whole place smelled like metal and death. She, Henry, and the Witness Keeper moved through the frozen corridors. Time was stopped around them, but Iris could feel the strain. Holding 3 people in this state took enormous energy. They needed to work fast. Henry pulled out a small device he had built overnight. It connected to the ship's systems using principles even he did not fully understand. The Witness Keeper had taught him just enough to make it work. Found it, Henry whispered, though there was no need for silence in frozen time. Old habits. Their weapon control center is 3 levels down, and the prisoner holding area is right next to it. They descended through the ship. Iris had to look away from some of the things they passed. Rooms full of devices that could only be torture equipment. Storage areas containing remains of species the collective had destroyed. This was not just a hunter ship. It was a mobile factory of horrors. The weapons chamber was enormous. At its center, suspended in a cage of twisted metal and light, was another Witness Keeper. Slightly smaller than the one Iris had bonded with. Its scales were gray instead of blue. Tubes ran from its body into machines that hummed with stolen power. The captured creature's eyes were open but empty. It was alive but barely conscious, drained almost to death. Iris's Witness Keeper made a sound of pure anguish. It pressed against the cage, trying to reach its sibling. Through their bond, Iris felt the depth of its pain. These two had been together for centuries. They had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations. They had been family long before humans learned to make fire. "Henry, can you shut down the cage?" Iris asked. Henry was already working, his fingers flying over his device. Their security is insane, but it's not designed to stop someone working from inside frozen time. "Give me 2 minutes. Those 2 minutes felt like hours." Iris could feel their time bubble weakening. She was burning through energy too fast. They had maybe 5 more minutes before she collapsed. The cage opened with a hiss. The captured Witness Keeper fell forward and its sibling caught it gently. Iris felt waves of emotion through the bond. Relief, joy, desperate worry. "Can it move?" Iris asked. The answer came back negative. The captured Witness Keeper was too weak. Years of being drained had left it barely alive. "Then we carry it," Iris said. She looked at Henry. "Can you sabotage their weapons from here?" Henry grinned, though his hands were shaking. "Better. I can turn them all on at once," pointing inward. "When time starts again, this ship will age itself to pieces. Do it, fast." While Henry worked, Iris tried to figure out how to move 2 massive alien creatures. Even with her enhanced strength, she could not carry them. And their time was almost up. Then she had an idea. If she could stop time, what if she could also speed it up? Just for the Witness Keepers. Give them a few hours of healing compressed into seconds. It was dangerous. She had never tried anything like it. But they were out of options. She placed her hand on the captured Witness Keeper and focused. Instead of pulling it into her time bubble, she pushed time forward around it. Just that one creature. Just for a little while. The strain was incredible. Iris screamed as energy poured out of her. But it worked. The gray Witness Keeper's wounds began to heal. Color returned to its scales. Its eyes cleared and focused. When Iris released the effect, the creature stood on shaky legs. It looked at her with wonder and gratitude. "Done," Henry shouted. "Weapons are set. We need to leave now." They ran back through the ship. Iris was stumbling with exhaustion. Her connection to the Witness Keeper was the only thing keeping her moving. They reached the exit and jumped, falling through frozen air toward the desert below. As they fell, Iris let go of the time stop. Reality came crashing back. The collective ship's weapons fired all at once inward. The entire vessel aged 1,000 years in seconds. Metal turned to rust. Systems failed. The ship crumbled and fell from the sky like a dying bird. The other two collective ships immediately powered up their weapons, targeting the source of the attack. But Rebecca's quantum field network was still running. Inside the time distortion bubble, Iris and the others moved faster than the collective could track. Military jets that had been circling helplessly now found their targets vulnerable. Missiles struck the second ship, punching through shields that were disrupted by the time field. It exploded in a ball of fire. The third ship tried to flee, but the freed Witness Keeper, despite its weakness, reached out with its own time abilities. The ship's engines aged into scrap. It crashed into the desert dead. Silence fell over Nevada. Smoke rose from 3 destroyed vessels. Iris lay on the sand, barely breathing. She had used too much power. Pushed herself too far. The 2 Witness Keepers bent over her. She felt them working together, pouring energy back into her body. Slowly, painfully, she recovered. When she finally opened her eyes, Henry was sitting beside her, crying with relief. Rebecca and the others were running across the desert toward them, and overhead she saw something beautiful. More Witness Keepers were arriving, dozens of them, drawn by the signal their freed brother had sent. They had been hiding across the galaxy, afraid to show themselves. But humanity's defense of one injured creature had given them hope. 6 months passed. The world changed in ways nobody could have predicted. The existence of alien life was now common knowledge. Some people panicked. Others celebrated. Most just tried to understand what it meant for the future. Iris became Earth's first ambassador to the Witness Keepers. She trained others who had compatible minds, teaching them to bond with the Time Guardians, a pilot from Brazil, a teacher from Japan, an engineer from Kenya. One by one they formed connections with the alien creatures. Together they built something new, a defense force that combined human technology with Witness Keeper abilities, ships that could slip through time, weapons that protected rather than destroyed, an alliance between species that should have been impossible. The collective sent more ships eventually. They found Earth ready. They found humans who could fight in ways they had never seen. Most importantly, they found Witness Keepers who were no longer alone, no longer hunted, no longer afraid. After losing 6 ships in 6 battles, the collective declared Earth sector too dangerous and withdrew. They would be back someday, but not soon. Iris stood in the laboratory where it had all begun, looking at the equipment that had first detected a dragon falling from the sky. Henry worked at his computer nearby, now humanity's leading expert on collective technology. Rebecca directed a research program studying temporal mechanics with help from a dozen Witness Keepers. The captured Witness Keeper, now fully healed, had bonded with a young woman from Brazil. Together they patrolled the outer solar system, watching for threats. Iris's Witness Keeper, her first friend among the stars, was teaching 3 new Guardians how to see time as it truly was. "Do you regret it?" Henry asked without looking up from his work. "Becoming what you are now?" Iris thought about the question. She was no longer fully human. She would age differently, think differently, exist differently than the people she had grown up with. In many ways, she had sacrificed her humanity to save her species. "No," she said finally, "some things are worth the cost." Through the window, she watched a Witness Keeper take flight, its scales gleaming in the sunlight. It was joined by another and another, until the sky was full of dragons that were not really dragons at all. They were guardians, protectors, friends, and so was she. Iris closed her eyes and felt the currents of time flowing around her. She saw shadows of possible futures spreading out ahead. Some were dark, some were bright. All of them were unknown, but in every single future, humanity was no longer alone. In every timeline, 2 species stood together. She opened her eyes and time moved forward, carrying her and everyone she loved toward whatever came next, and she was ready.